Sparkles on treasure.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sparkles with Treasure, and my name still remains your host, Treasure. And if you're just joining us for the very first time and you're wondering what is Sparkles with Treasure all about, Sparkles with Treasure is a show envisioned to create a godly awareness in the life of youths, recreating a new world where righteousness is pursued by people. On the previous episode, we discussed about living a life of purpose, but the question still remains the same. What is actually the meaning of the word purpose? And how do we really critically identify God's purpose for our lives? And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing on the topic, identifying God's purpose for our lives. And with me in the studio is a beautiful young lady, a young doctor, and a minister of God, who will be telling us how to identify God's purpose for our lives. Miss Ruth Montali is a medical doctor in training at the Karazin National University. She is from Zambia and a minister of the gospel, currently based here in Ukraine. Hello, Ruth Montali. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Treasure.
I'm fine. I know you laugh a lot.
Good.
And you're looking good.
You look beautiful yourself.
You're really, is that your best color?
No, my best colors are purple and red.
Wow, all right. Okay, so what would you say is God's purpose for a man's life?
Okay, so understanding that purpose is intention, I believe God's purpose for a man, simply put, is for himself.
Okay.
God created us with plans and purposes to give him the glory. So when you look at God's purpose for a man, it's that thing which God gave you to do that gives glory to him.
Okay.
That's how I'll put. That's God's purpose for every man.
For every man.
Every man. There's something in every person that God put that will give glory back to God. And that goes for whether saved or unsaved. Even a person who's not saved has purpose. When they find God, they'll find that purpose.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's purpose.
Now, how can I relate God's purpose for my life to my passion? Do you think I can relate my career or my passion to God's purpose?
Oh, passion and career are two different things,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Passion is one of the pointers to God's purpose in your life.
Okay.
Career is something you choose to do. If our parents, were more aware about a purpose-driven life, they would have been telling you about purpose from a young age, then that would enable you to pick a career that will correspond with your purpose.
Okay, so for someone like me, my career, do you think I can say, okay, I know the Sparkles with Treasure is a Christian program,
Yeah.
but for a lot of people, they have a lot of careers. Like you said, career is something you choose.
Choose to do.
So when you choose a career and you know that, like you said, that God's purpose for our lives is to
give him the glory.
to give him the glory, then it's like everything we choose has to give him the glory. Would you say?
I believe your choice of career should center on your purpose.
Okay.
The thing with most of us is we get to discover our purpose later after we've chosen our career. If a person had discovered their purpose, let's say at the age of 14, 15, not a full picture, but something small, they'll pick every choice around their purpose.
Now, when you say if a person had discovered
Their purpose,
purpose.
Identified it younger.
Now look at the situation where in the African homes, a lot of us, we identify our purpose by what our parents tell us.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, my mom is telling you, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a doctor, and then we just grow up
Of
believing
course.
we're going to be doctors. Do you understand? And we work hard towards what they have told us.
Of course.
So how, it gets to a point in someone's life. I know there are young youths watching this right now, and some of them just want to maybe just complete whatever their parents have told them and whatever they have started. And they are asking themselves, okay, so how do I really identify God's purpose? Because I've not heard God come all the way down from heaven to talk to me. So how do I know that this thing I'm doing, it's even though they are Christians, even though they are serving God, even though they are trying to glorify Him, how can they say, okay, I know that this is not God's purpose, I know that this is God's purpose? Do you understand?
Okay.
Would you say everything that, maybe the simple way to put it is, would you say everything that is right is God's purpose?
No.
Thank you.
Not everything that is right is God's purpose. Seeing that the word purpose is intent.
Yeah.
Let's say I designed shoes. I love shoes. So I designed shoes, and my purpose for the shoes was to be worn. If I give you those shoes, but I never tell you that they're meant to be worn, it's possible that you just clean them and have them for decorations.
Yeah.
And that the shoes are not serving the purpose for which they're sent. But what you're doing could be right, or it would be okay. It's not bad to clean shoes and look at them and admire them, but that's not the purpose for which they were sent. And that's what happens with us and God. God has given us a particular purpose. We venture into other activities that are not bad, they're not sinful or anything, but they're not what God created us to do. And that's why you find most people are unfulfilled, in as much as they're successful in the world's definition of success. Let's say I become a doctor, and I'm really called, let's say God has called me to heal people's, maybe people who've been molested and something like that. I might, at one point in my life, I could get not tired. I won't be very fulfilled. I'll just be going to work to earn a salary.
Yeah.
Purpose is something you would do, even if you are not paid. You'd find fulfillment in it.
Yeah.
So for an African person, the goodness about being a believer is all things work together for your good. Wherever you are now, God can begin to give you your purpose. He'll begin to tell you, you begin to search deeper within yourself, and you'll find it, and you move on from where you are.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what are the pointers to show God's purpose for our lives? Like, the signs. How do we get to know that, okay, this is God's purpose
for my life?
Because I know that, okay, from what I heard you say now, it's like, it's not about the shoes being clean. It's about you wearing the shoe, taking up that action. So how do I know? Because before I can take any action, I need to be very sure.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not everything that is right.
That is purpose.
What are the pointers? What would you say are some pointers?
Okay, some of the pointers, God being very diverse. Okay, I'm a med student. Let me use a bit of anatomy.
Okay.
Every part of the body, when you look at how it's shaped, for a layman, they'll think it's just meant to be like that. But I got to discover there's a function for why it is shaped like that, why its size is that way. So in the same way, every person, if you've seen, most of us are very different. Okay. And usually your your personality, your gifts, your abilities, your talents are pointers of what God has called you to do. Yeah. I'm a person who's, let me use the word loud. I love to talk to people. Another person may not be like that. Yeah. So we can't say Ruth being loud is right or wrong, and this person being quiet is right or wrong. Specifically, let me use the word customized for my purpose. So you begin to look at your abilities, you look at your talents, you look at your gifts, and just to look at your passions. Okay. Passions are the things, like, you just have that drive in you. You have that drive. So those are the pointers to your purpose in life.
Now, after you discover these pointers and you discover that you have passion, you have drive, how do I go about it? For someone out there who is like, okay, I know I've discovered all these things, I know what I can do, I know my abilities, but then how do they go about it?
Okay, so you start somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me not say start somewhere. You start where you are. If God has told me my purpose is to raise awareness of destiny to youths, I shouldn't wait to maybe be ordained a pastor before I start speaking to youths.
Yeah.
While we're here, we're students. So I begin with my roommates. I begin to say, do you know what it means to have destiny? He who is faithful in little is faithful in much. So if I understand that God has called me to raise youth to their destiny, I should start talking to my classmates. I start talking to my housemates. I start wherever I am. That's where I start.
Now, I like the word start somewhere, but a lot of people always say, okay, I'm to start somewhere. Let's look at the world and the economy. And we're like, oh, start somewhere. I've heard that before. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
like I've heard that before. And I want to tell you, I want to ask you that, okay, for someone who has always heard start somewhere, and how do I really identify what somewhere is? I don't know if you get my point.
I get it.
Because you want me to start from somewhere, I have nothing, I'm no one, how do I really identify where somewhere is?
I would say start where you are right now. I gave you an example of talking to you. It means start with your roommate. Most of us are in a place where we have people around us.
Okay.
So start with your roommate, start with your classmates.
So there's no little somewhere, right?
No, it's actually the little things that amounts to the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Every big picture starts with, when an artist is drawing, it starts with something small. So you have to start from somewhere. You have to start from where you are.
Now, I would like to ask, what do you think are the internal values of living in God's purpose? Because we know that a lot of people are living in their own plans, their own decisions, and everybody's like, well, when it's time for God, we'll do God's things. When it's time for God. Now, what do you think, what would you say are the eternal values? Because we know that our Father is the God of eternity.
Exactly.
So what are the internal values that you would say that are the values that would make a man say, okay, I think with what I've heard right now, I really need to step up to my game?
Okay, as you're asking that question, I was reminded of the parable of the talents.
Okay.
In the parable of the talents, the master gave them some, let's call it abilities, let's say for their purpose, and they didn't know when he would come. The two first ones, the one who had 5 and 2, did something. The other one didn't do anything. When you look at how he came back, he told the person who had multiplied it that he's going to have more rewards. That's how it is. There's more rewards for what we're doing in eternity. Every human being's aim in life should be to hear God say, well done, my good and faithful servant. That should be every believer's, every human being. That's the sentence you should crave the most. To hear God say, I'm proud of you. And God can only be proud of you if you do his purpose for your life, not what you think you should do for God. So the eternal value is you made God proud.
Yeah.
You did what God asked you to do. Can you imagine Jesus coming and not doing what God asked him to do?
I understand.
It would have costed so much. And we don't usually, especially youths, we don't think like that. We don't think that if I don't start now helping someone, it won't bother anybody. Yeah. But our kingdom is very interconnected. If I stand up to what I'm meant to do, I could be helping 1,000 other people. If you stand up, you could be helping 10,000. Yeah. So when you don't do it, you costed the lives of so many people.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Treasure.
I'm really happy, and I'm sure you've been able to tell everyone out there something that would really change their lives. And let me tell you, there was a quote I got from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he said something. He said, living a life of purpose is not to be happy. It is to be useful. It is to be compassionate. It is to be humble. It is to have it make a difference that you have lived and lived well. And you've had it all. You can live that life and say, I fought the good fight. It is possible. Well, until next time on Sparkles with Treasure, have a lovely day.
Hi, this is Humphrey. You're watching Sparkles with Treasure. Keep watching.
Sparkles with Treasure.